Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Grow Wealthy Grooming. I am your host, River Lee. If you don't know who I am, that's perfectly fine. I am the founder of the Savvy Groomer, where I teach pet professionals how to make more money or keep more of the money they make. That's basically how it goes. So I apologize for the little late intro. I have been trying to figure out why my streaming service is not streaming all of my shows. But that's okay whether you're watching it on Facebook or on YouTube. I always suggest you guys hop on YouTube because it's really nice to see comments. Like I have Brianna and Erin. Hi guys. I love seeing you guys live here. It really helps energize me. And if you guys know me at all, I'm not really a night person. I'm one of those really annoying morning people. And so I get up at like 5:30. And so by this time of night, I'm kind of tired. It's really funny. I recently did one of the workshops for my business membership, and it was late. I want to say it was like 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And I mean, I'm literally trying not to pass out. That's how tired I am. It's just really, it's so embarrassing too, because you would think like, oh yeah, I can party all night. You know, I'm young and hip. That's not a thing. Although if I take a nap, then I can go out. I know someone was saying, oh my God, you're so burned. Yep. We had an oyster fest down in Rhode Island, which means that we got lots of oysters, which are delicious. And yeah, it was awesome because I got to be out in the real world, which was so nice. And I got a lot of oysters, not like a little bit of oysters, like a lot of oysters. It was a lot of fun. I cannot complain. I am a very, very blessed person. So let's go ahead and start beginning to talk about today's topic. And I don't want to bore you with all the bogged down details. I just want to do a nice big overview of this topic. It's going to be the ROI of education. Now, if you've never heard the term ROI, that is return on investment. And if you're not quite sure exactly what do I mean return on investment, what that is basically how do you get your money back? And I think especially in the grooming industry, we don't really ask ourselves all that much about how much money do we actually get back for the things that we've invested in. So there's different kinds of education, obviously, that you can invest in. So one thing I want to talk about is certification. I want to talk about business investing as far as things like, if you are I want to say hi to Brianna, who's actually in my price increase class. I mean, that's very important to me. We just started that last night, actually. I'm really excited for it. So, we have personal finance. At least there's all these things you can invest in, right? I mean, ultimately, Savvy Groomer, we suggest that you invest in your business, in yourself, right? But now that everything is online, well, not everything, but a lot of things are online. It's like, okay, what is a good investment? What is a bad investment? And then how do I figure that out for myself? Because ultimately, like I've always told you guys, like I will have my opinion, but my opinion is for me. You have to make your own decisions based upon your own life and your own needs, wants, desires, and future goals. So before we even begin talking about grooming education, let's talk about college degrees. I'm actually really surprised at how many groomers talk about going back to college to learn more about business. Now, as a mom of an almost, actually is 10 now, oh my goodness. As a mom of a 10-year-old, I'm not going to pretend like college is useless. I definitely think college has its places. I think that it's really important for those people that want to go and get a 4-year degree, a master's, a 6-year degree, whatever it is, you should definitely do it. If that is really what you want, go for it. But do you need a business degree in order to run a grooming salon? Well, if you talk to the average groomer, how many of them that own salons have a business degree? I think those people are actually few and far between. Does that mean that a business degree is useless? No. But what it means is that the ROI of that education is just not there. There's not a whole heck of a lot of return on investment for a business degree in the grooming world. And that's very basically because these business concepts can be learned. Now, you can obviously learn them for things like, some people will be like, oh, I can just go to the library and learn about business. Of course you can. I mean, ultimately, what a 4-year degree is a curated list of classes, a curated list of books for you to have a pathway to learn either a skill set or, in this case, business. And I find that a lot of the business tactics that are talked about in a lot of the college, classes really don't apply very well to the grooming industry. And it's a very unique industry. And I know everyone thinks their industry is unique, but we know our industry is very unique. And Brianna's saying she's very excited for the class. I'm so glad. I'm enjoying it already. It's fantastic. Anyway, not enough about me. So for me, a college education, if you're going to own a grooming business, to me is not a good ROI. You're going to spend an average of, actually, I'm going to double check that because I know that college tuition goes up all the time. And if I go to, what is the average for your college cost now? Because I know even in the last few years, it's gone up. Whoop. Average for your degree cost. Well, so this is talking about my state, which works for me. So the average annual tuition is about $13,000 in my state. Whew. So you figure 13 times 4. This is why we have calculators. I'm pretty sure I know how much, but let's just not, because it's that time of night. 13 times 4. Wow, we're talking 52. So that's $52,000 for a 4-year degree. Now, am I going to make my money back on that? I don't know. Probably not. Because I would need to earn way more than I'm actually gaining, right, guys? So I'm going to spend $54,000. $52,000. Then I need to make sure that I'm going to get that money back in spades, right? Most of us went to Petco PetSmart. We learned how to groom, or we had somebody else teach us to groom. But even if we went to grooming school, right? And not all grooming schools are created equally. So I always use the example of the grooming school I went to. I used to get a leg of a dog a day. And now this was at a college. It was at a university. And it was actually an elective. And believe it or not, the college is no longer, it was a private college. And they are no longer in session. Shocking, I know. But I would get a leg of a dog. Now, I want to say I probably paid $4,000 or $5,000 for that education. Now, was that education actually a good ROI? Well, yes and no, right? Because that taught me how to groom. But for $4,000 or $5,000, I probably could have found a more creative solution or a better investment. But like a lot of people who just don't know where to go, and this is more than 10 years ago now, so things are a lot easier to find online. Now that we have Paragon online, we have the National Cat Groomers Institute online, and there were a lot more options available. But going back 10 years, technically, I got a great return on investment. For about $4,000 or $5,000, I was able to turn around and earn a living making $100,000. Compare that to the $52,000 for that 4-year degree. That's a much better ROI, right? Hey, Peter, good to see you. So I want you to consider that. Okay, so if I have something that was $4,000, I've made $100,000 out of it. What about higher grooming education? Now, this is where things get tricky, right? Because there's no clear-cut answer. And this is where I'm going to I hate to say trigger warning, but fairly trigger warning. This is an instance where you've got to know you and you've got to know your goals. So I am a fairly mediocre dog groomer. I'm a fantastic cat groomer, but I'm a mediocre dog groomer. I can make a dog cute, clean, comfortable, but I definitely won't be going to any grooming competitions anytime soon. A, it's not my passion, and then B, honestly, I was okay with my level of skill. But I did work for a woman for free for 6 months. Now, if you're, first of all, those are actually technically not legal in most places. So make sure you know what you're doing. Make sure things are less loosey-goosey like I did. But again, we all do what we got to do, right, to learn the skill set. But I worked for a woman for 6 months in order to gain more skill sets as a groomer. And again, we're like, okay, well, I didn't pay anything. So did I really lose anything? Well, I lost 6 months of working part-time-ish. So let's say, let's call it $10 an hour. Let's pretend like I'm a baby groomer, and as a groomer grooming over 10 years now, I'm still a slow groomer. So let's say I'm a groomer and I'm going to groom 5 dogs a day. So my groomer, my salon owner is only going to pay me $10 to $12 an hour. So if you figure $10 an hour times, let's say 20 hours a week, it's $200. So 6 months, and we're gonna that's 24 weeks. So 6 times 4. Yep. So let's times that by $200. So that meant I paid $4,000, $5,000 for my school, and then I paid $4,800 in sweat equity. So sweat equity is basically you work to basically earn equity in your business. And that may be actual legal equity and financial equity, or it might be more of just this kind of equity here, where it's not really something you can cash in on. But it helped me be a good groomer, a better groomer, and then again, it still helped me gain more money. So was that a good ROI? Well, it depends on what I learned. For me, it was a great education in learning that I hated. I learned, so the woman I was training under exclusively did poodles and English saddle clips and continentals and then hand strip schnauzers. That's literally the only thing she did. She was right near Boston, and she was just one of those old school groomers, and that's all she did. I mean, we had big poodles and little poodles, and then we had a ton of schnauzers. And schnauzers would come from New York. They would come from New Jersey, which is like, a 3-hour drive, which where I am in a 45-minute long state. Now, obviously, she's in Massachusetts. That's still not a huge state. That's a big deal. And to put that in perspective, where my grooming salon was when I had it, in a 2-mile radius, there were 6 grooming salons. So we're talking high density as far as like competition and everything goes. But I remember learning that I hated patterns and scissoring because I just felt like I was following these lines. I just did not like it at all. I didn't love hand scissoring. I didn't like how I would start going like colorblind. We literally had a table on rollers and 2 different walls, and we would roll the dog back and forth because like you'd be looking at a black dog and you'd start like you couldn't see the dog anymore. You had to roll back and then you could see the dog again, or the white dog, and then you're going snowblind. So it was a very interesting thing. And I think back on it and I'm like, okay, did I get my money's worth? For me, I did, because as a young groomer, I learned what I would never do. And that actually helped me grow my business significantly later. Because for me, that investment in my business, well, I should say my future business, but at the time in my grooming skills, taught me what I didn't want. And I didn't want to do breed cuts. And I guess that sounds really silly because I feel like a lot of us spend so much money learning breed cuts. But what I found was, for me, and this is not everyone, again, you have to know you have to know your business. I had someone say like, River doesn't like this and River doesn't like that. I'm like, no, River doesn't like that for River. And I don't like that for the majority of my groomers who just don't actually want to do it. They just don't want to look bad in front of other groomers. I feel like it's like some things you would never say about your kid, your human kid, or your dog. Like, I mean, it's so funny because like, some things people are like, oh, my dog, you'd never admit those things, like, because you don't want to seem like a bad pet parent, right? Like, so I would not say things like, I've definitely screamed at my dog when she ate an entire thing of toilet paper during the toilet paper pandemic. and we had no toilet paper, right? She literally just decided to go to town, and she literally ate like a 48 roll thing of Charmin. And that is the only toilet paper I really like. I definitely yell at my dog. But you'd have people go, oh, well, I just don't yell at my doggy. My doggy's perfect. It's like, no, sometimes I just completely lose my mind. And I'm only human. And I just remember coming home and there was toilet paper everywhere. And I literally was just, it was funny because I had messaged Jasmine. If you guys don't know, my virtual assistant and project manager, Jasmine Conrad. She's amazing. She's Savvy Groomer Tech. We love her. I don't remember what I said to her. I think I just messaged her like, I just need a break. Like, I just need a mental break so I don't kill my dog. And I love her to death. She's a wonderful dog. 9 times out of 10. The cat's over here. He's up in everyone's business. He's causing trouble. The dog doesn't do anything. The dog's just very lovely, unless if she's not. So anyway, going back to what I'm saying, I think sometimes we just say things because we want to look good in front of other groomers. And I feel like that's kind of like controversial, but I think it's true, But as far as learning breed cuts, I learned very early that was just never going to be my forte. But what was great is that I had another groomer down the street that I could send all of those patterns to. And it was a win-win. So going forward, was that a good return on investment? Well, for me it was. But if I had not had the journey I had, it would not have been. Now, if somebody really found out this was their passion and they were like, man, like I learned at that shop that I would if I could do anything, I would do nothing but poodles and English saddle clips and continentals, which that would be a choice. That'd be like an epiphany for them, right? And there are some groomers who do classes at Hershey or Intergroom or wherever, Atlanta Pet Fair. And they're like, this is all I want to do. All I want to do is hand strip. All I want to do is cats. All I want to do is Bichons and full coated dogs. Whatever it is, you might find your passion that way. And that would be a good ROI. Now, in the same regard, and let's keep on the same line of this one, a bad ROI would have been if I didn't dislike patterns and I didn't like patterns and I had no intention of finding a job doing those patterns. Working for someone 6 months is a really long time to realize that you don't want to do anything different. So a good example would be that right now everyone's hiring. And I often tell my coaching clients, and these are the people that want to grow the future Sarah Druins of the industry. So what they're going to do is they're going to say, hey, we're going to invest in you. We're going to help you achieve your goals of competitions of, I gotta yawn. Oh my God. Try to hold it in. You couldn't do it. They want to invest in those people. So for them, they want somebody who sees value in that level of education. And for them, that would be a good return on investment to invest in groomers who are going to stay and do that. But what about for you? Is paying someone $300 to $750 a day to learn patterns or to learn scissoring or whatever it is that you want to learn, cat grooming? Well, that depends. What is your long-term goals? I know everyone's like, River. I know. It really depends. Getting my certified family master groomer was such a game changer for me. It really was a fantastic return on investment. But I knew I had a problem. And so a lot of times you guys will just invest in things and hope it works out. But what I did was the opposite. I said, okay, I own the grooming salon with 5 employees. We're doing 40 dogs a day. I'm making very good money. But I wanted to be that mom that dropped off their kid I wanted to drop my son off at kindergarten. And I didn't want him to be the last one to be picked up. I didn't want to have that life. And there's nothing wrong with those moms that do. But for me personally, that's what I really wanted. And for those of you guys that don't know my full story, like I lived in my car when I was pregnant with my son. My son's dad did a very bad thing, and it's fine. We grew up and everything's fine now. But I opened my grooming salon 4 days before my son was born. Sometimes I'm a little emotional, I apologize. So 4 days before my son was born, opened my shop. We lived there illegally for the first 6 months. Don't do that, but sometimes shit happens. And then, long story short, just give me a second, I'm sorry. You ever get so emotional you lose your train of thought? And I'm sorry, sometimes, I normally can tell that story and not get emotional, but it's been a very roller coaster ride of a week. So anyway, this is the problem with being live, isn't it? Because now you're like, oh crap, what did I say? So I'm pretty sure the line of it was, what do I want to do with my life? Well, I had sacrificed a lot of his use. I worked 60, 80 hours a week to go from living in my car to buying a house. And that was really hard. And so I had given up a lot. So I didn't want to give up everything. So I wanted to have some normalcy. And it's so wonderful that I had the gift of being able to be there. But part of that was I said, okay, to myself, you're working 60, 80 hours a week. I don't want to do this anymore. And a lot of that was just I didn't have the skill set to manage my staff and, be able to not be there. And I've learned things on how to do that now. But at the time, it just wasn't a skill set I had. Anyway, moving forward, I was like, I want to make 6 figures. I want to work 40 hours or less. And I want to drop my son off in the morning and pick him up at school. And I don't want to work weekends. I didn't want to have to work weekends. I didn't want to have to. I wanted to be the one to bring my son to the birthday party on Saturday. I didn't want to have to send my mom or have a friend of mine take my son to a birthday party. It just sucked. And and it's not like you're going to take off an entire day of work to go to a birthday party with a kid. And so cat grooming and being mobile was really instrumental in that. And so that ROI was a great ROI, spending the money to get hands-on training, to get the cat grooming syllabus, to do my exams, and to get all of that was a good ROI. However, if you have no interest, and I've actually seen people do this where they sign up for things like the cat grooming syllabus, and they have no interest in grooming cats. They hate cats. They're like, oh, well, I could just make so much money grooming cats. And they don't like cats. They don't want to groom cats. They don't want to do anything with the cats. They spend all that money. You pay $1,200 for the cat grooming syllabus. And then they go for, let's say, a week of personalized private instruction, PPI, which is anywhere between $300 and $750 a day. And maybe they get their certification, but they probably don't because they don't actually enjoy it. And then they just waste all that money. I mean, that right there is a bad ROI. And again, it depends on what that person's going to do with that education. If it's just there because they think they should do this, it's a bad ROI. Another example is when you guys go, and this is kind of a pet peeve of mine. It's not that I have a problem with it. I just think it's let me go. Hang on. A lot of you guys, when you go to grooming seminars and at trade shows, I see people packed in to see the Wheaton cut or a Kerry or a Bedlington or a Bichon. Now, most of us, and by most, I mean more than 50% of us, generally won't be doing those breed cuts more than a few times a year. Some of us, only 1 or 2 dogs our entire career. Now, I do appreciate that, like any art form, we should learn the actual rules and then take the rules and edit them gracefully. Like you see the people that obviously have never seen a schnauzer's face, like an actual schnauzer's face, and then they do like a schnauzer's face, and you're like, this is not that. It's like that thing. Or someone who does a cocker cut, and you're like, have you ever seen a cocker spaniel, what they're actually supposed to look like? Because that is not that. That's not even an interpretation of that. That is like a Picasso. Like, did you almost want to say to the dog owner, did you pay someone to do that to your dog, or was this a horrible accident? Right? So if you're not going to do a lot of these breed cuts, and another ROI would be, is this pleasant? Is this fun? Is this exciting? Is this a hobby? Right? And there's nothing wrong with grooming, having some hobby. For instance, if you, one of my coaching clients, I think would really, really love to do competitions for fun. I think it would really spark up creativity in her. And she's got this real drive for education and passion. I think that would really light her, like spark her passion and keep her passion alive. Because, we have to make sure we keep the passion alive in grooming. So for that person, it's irrelevant if showing and doing competitions have an ROI. It's a hobby, and hobbies cost you money. But if my coaching client said to me, I'm going to do grooming competitions in order to bring notoriety to my shop, that may or may not be a good ROI, because I would ask her, well, do your clients want this haircut? And as a groomer, we're like, of course they want that haircut. Who wouldn't want that haircut? It's beautiful. It's like when we look at a poodle and a poodle cut and it's done really well, and we're like, oh, so good, so good, right? But someone might look at that dog and say, that looks terrible. That's the problem with art. It's all interpretive. So is that a good ROI? Well, it depends. If we're going to take the marketing for that business, and there are businesses that is their brand, not to bring up poor Miss Sarah Druin again, it's like, I feel like I'm like the Sarah Druin show, but that's her brand. Plush is that brand. Her job is that. Her business is that. Where my business was cute, clean, and comfortable. That's it. I don't think we ever did a dog above 5/8 of an inch. And we always did the same length on the legs as the body. There might be some style, but everything was really simple. Everything was really simple. And that was my brand. And most of us don't have a brand of these very high-end cuts, whether they're breed cuts or if they are a business that is show-stopping cuts. And there's multiple reasons why. But keeping on to the ROI of education, a lot of you guys you'll go to the trade show and you'll invest money in the classes of the Bichon Head, the Wheaton, the Bedlington, the Kerry, a poodle, like 5 different ways. Like, you're going to learn a Miami, you're going to learn a Town and Country, you're going to learn a modern. Great. And then you don't take any business classes. So you spend this money learning about these breeds and these cuts that you might do 1 dog, 5 dogs your whole career, these cuts. But then you don't invest in your business education. We talked about the $52,000 we would have paid for a 4-year college degree in grooming, in business, not in grooming business, but business. Although it'd be fun. I feel like if someone could I actually really would love that. If we could have grooming business as a college degree. I'm into that. Because there's equine management. I don't think there's kennel management. Maybe there is. But that still wouldn't be grooming. Think about that. Anyway, I digress. So with our business classes, is there an ROI? Well, it depends. Do you actually want to change your business and grow and learn? If you have no interest in growing and learning, then it's bad investment. If you're going to go there, listen what do they have to say, and not look at your business. You may not implement everything that you take for these business classes. You may not implement everything, but at least then you have to say, is this for me? Yes or no. A good example is I sometimes take add-on classes. Now, my business, my mobile business, we really didn't have many add-ons. And I actually steer a lot of my coaching clients away from add-ons. And the reason I do that, very honestly, is that it takes, the ROI is very rarely there, unless if you're going to consistently do it. Most of my clients that are coaching clients want to focus on different things like having a membership, having a mobile luxury service, or having an all-in-one inclusive business model. So for them, it's not a really good thing. But anyway, so the ROI of that, are you going to learn these things? So if you have a mobile business, you probably shouldn't be taking a class on retail, unless if your plan is to have a storefront at some point. If you are, have no interest in going mobile, it probably doesn't make any sense to take a mobile class. It's funny. Most of you guys will, well, that makes sense. But like the retail one, you're like, man, I don't know. Maybe the person in the van will want to sell crap out of their van. And I'm like, yes, but probably not. Because if you've ever been in a grooming van, you kind of want to use your space. And the last thing you want to do is add more stuff to it. It's already hard enough to although I will say, I found that it was amazing when I thought about I was like, oh my God, our shop is so small. And it was small. But then I was in a grooming van. It's no, this is small. This is small. Anyway, I digress. So is there a good ROI? And again, hashtag Savvy Groomer plug. Our price increase class. Now, our price increase class is closed. We will be opening up our next round in August. So if you missed it, don't worry, it'll come back. So that class was $600. It's expensive, right? It's a lot of money. But let's say you increase all of your dogs by $20 and you do it in a way that you feel comfortable. You've really thought about your pricing. Your prices make sense. Because that's the thing with this price increase class. Just jumping your prices isn't the problem. Because that number just came out of air. Why are you pricing the way you do? What have you invested? What is the long-term plans? All of these things need to be considered if you just go, this much. Can you imagine going to a store and a gallon of milk's $15 and they go, why is it $15? And they'd be like, I just figured $15 seemed fair. Or why, a gallon of milk is 50 cents. And you're like, wow, 50 cents, that's a good deal. And they go, yeah, I figured 50 cents is a good deal because over there they're charging $3 a gallon for milk. And I just think that's excessive. And then the 50 cents milk company goes out of business because they can't feed their cows and they can't pay their staff. So if I took $600 and let's say we increase by $20 a dog, that means the first 30 dogs of this price increase would pay for this class. Now, if you're a groomer, which I'm assuming you are if you're watching this, but there are always people out there who watch this. I actually was very flattered. I found somebody actually who was a general manager at a car company, I should say a dealership, showed their employees some of my videos. And I was like, wow, look at that. Groomers getting some love right there. But let's say 5 dogs a day, 5 days a week. That's 25 dogs. Let's do it by the month. Well, let's do it. Let's say 25 dogs a week, 50 a year. So that is 1,250 dogs. That's about lazy groomer. We're doing about 1,250 grooms. So let's do that by $20. This is kind of exciting. So you spent $600 to do a class, maybe hopped into our group mentoring program. Maybe you got some one-on-one coaching too to make sure everything goes really well. How much do you guys think the first year increasing your grooms by $20 would be? $25,000. That's a damn good ROI. Now, if you spent an extra $600 on a Bichon head class, is that going to earn you an extra $25,000 a year? No. Let's say you only did that $10. That's still $12,000, guys. That's a goddamn fantastic ROI. Fantastic ROI. Often you guys are focusing on education that is important as a skill set, is important whether you're a technician or an artist. It is important that you do a good haircut. It is important that there is safety. It is important that you are bettering yourself and bettering your industry. But I'm always shocked at how few of you are going to business classes at these trade shows. Now, I am going to be speaking at Atlanta Pet Fair. I have 3 classes at Atlanta Pet Fair, and I have 1 2-hour class at Super Zoo. And it's not that they don't want to do more business classes, it's that you guys aren't investing in business classes. Now, my master class is one example of a class that is going to instantly make you more money, right? You're going to make your ROI really quickly. Or something else like hiring, you're like, well, that's actually going to cost me money. If we have a $47 workshop on, is it time for you to be hiring? Well, that could actually, again, save you thousands. Let's say you go through the class and you think about it and you're like, instead of hiring someone to clean up the shop, do my laundry, and answer the phone, I'm just going to outsource that and pay a cleaning company, a towel service, and a VA to do the 2 hours a day office hours. Well, right there, think about all the money you've spent, right? Because you're like, well, I had to pay the towel company $50 a week. Well, I had to pay the VA, let's say $20 a week. And then you're like, oh, and then I had to pay the cleaning company $100. But how many hours would that bather have worked, right? So let's say that bather, $10 an hour, say they work 20 hours a week. That would have been $200. So you saved that money. You saved money there by knowing that you really didn't need that. So whenever we're talking about education, the last thing I'm going to bring up is certifications. I know I had started to bring them up and I kind of shied away, but I want to come back to that because I have really mixed feelings. Eric, this is one of those things, this is like the yelling, I shouldn't admit I've yelled at my dog. And I love her. I yell at my cat too. My cat doesn't care. The dog acts like I've beaten her, which makes me feel awful. Like that poodle, pathetic, shaking. Like she's a standard poodle. She's shaking and Mom, I'm so sorry. Please don't kill me. I'm I've never harmed you, dog. It's like my kid. My kid will start crying if I yell at him. And again, I should admit that I yell at people, but I'm only human, guys. I love them so much. And you gotta remember, I was living in my car. What a pathetic excuse, right? I'm listen, I was completely unprepared for motherhood. I thought my kid was going to eat steak at 6 months old. I had no idea what I was doing. I still don't. I'm just winging. The dog ownership I have no excuse for, except for sometimes I just lose my patience. I've never obviously harmed my dog, but psychologically I might have yelled at her probably 10 times in her life. Anyway, I digress. I know, I can't keep avoiding this forever. It is very rare that becoming a certified groomer will earn you more money. There, I've said it. Unless, like I said before, that is your brand. But owners don't really know that we are not licensed, because if you have to be licensed to do nails, why wouldn't you have to be licensed to do dog hair? If you have to be licensed for people hair, why wouldn't you have to be licensed to do dog's hair? It just makes sense, right? It sounds like something that should be happening, but it's not. It's a big problem. So when we try to talk about, hey, I have all this education, as a selling point to the client is completely uninterested. And that's because they don't understand why your education gives them anything of benefit or value. So this is where I use the example of if I went to a mechanic and the mechanic was like, wow, aren't you grateful that I am certified in Mercedes sprinters? And they'd be like, I guess. Like, I would assume everyone who works on my sprinter van would be certified in Mercedes. Like, why would you not have somebody who knows what they're doing? You know, it just comes down to like, why does that matter to me? You know, I don't care if the receptionist at your grooming salon has a master's in psychology. And that's sometimes what you guys kind of sound like. Like, you guys ever going to like a dinner party or something, and like someone's just like talking about their education. You're like, that's cool, bro. This sounds really terrible. You know, I think a lot of times there is that sense of, you know, like self-importance. Glamour Paws at Home is saying, I totally agree. It's a third-party business collecting fees for certificates. Now, here's the thing, is that I think with a lot of that stuff, the value is if you're going to make that your brand, or if you want to create a measuring stick in the industry. So, hey girl, how you doing? You know, it's one of those things like, what level do you want to be? So, me becoming a certified feline master groomer. Now, Danelle German made that up. She decided this is the standard for cat groomers, and I'm going to create a business where this is the standard. And what was interesting about that with cats is that a lot of you, it sounds rotten, I'm sorry. A lot of you guys, cat grooming are terrible. So, sorry, I'm reading comments. I'll tell you in a second. But so that standard has to be upheld. And that standard has to be evident. So if you take 10 CFMGs, I can very easily see a standard in something we're going to do. And so for me, if I were to hire another CFMG, I know what I get. Now, with your national, National Certified Master Groomer. Yes, I know. See, dyslexia is not your friend. So it's NCMG. You're going to know what you're going to get. If someone is nationally certified or internationally certified, you know they're going to be a certain level of dog groomer. That's what you know. That said, there's a lot of other certificates that are just basically someone has decided that this is the knowledge you're going to have. But what makes them an expert? What makes it so that they can decide what the stick is? Now, I love with the PC, is it GAA, is doing with the industry and saying, okay, here is our standard as an industry. This is what we're going to be about, right? And what I love about that is that if we create a good standard, we can adhere. It's a good idea. And I have no problem with someone making money off of that standard as long as they're the one who are going to make your thing. Yeah, fear-free certified. I don't love fear-free certification. I think if you want to learn something, great. Do I think it has an ROI? Not really. Except they're creating, the company that has fear-free, they are creating a brand around it. But what is fear-free and who decides what's fear-free and what is their background? And let's be very fair. Like, a lot of fear-free cat groomers can't groom cats. So it's really interesting because they'll be like, oh, I'm fear-free certified, so I'm a better cat groomer than a CFMG. But if you're a customer, would you rather have the person who can groom the cat in a respectful way? Listen, there are very few CFMGs who don't groom cats in respectful ways. And honestly, if they were shown to groom cats in, callous way, I'm sure they would lose their title. But fear-free, let's say fear-free is great, but as a client, do you want, and I'm not talking about traumatizing cats. I'm not talking about like bird cages and like crazy stuff, but like grooming a cat and maybe he's not super thrilled, but he's going to get groomed and he's going to learn it's a positive experience versus someone who can't actually groom the cat. Which one is honestly better for your ROI and which one is honestly going to make you more money? AT2 says education matters if you use that education. Otherwise, you're just stroking your own ego. I think that's a very real comment there. I think that a lot of us use education to stroke our egos instead of actually figuring out if it's going to make us more money. Now, there's nothing wrong with stroking your ego. There's nothing wrong with wanting education for the sake of education. Listen, you're talking to someone who reads 10 books a month. I mean, and I don't sit there with every book and go, oh, what's the ROI of reading this book? I'm just like, oh, this would be fun. I would like to know this, right? So I accept the fact of what that will cost me, and it's okay. So with that, I'm just going to end it that way. What I will say for you is that whatever you choose to do education-wise is up to you. If you want to get every certification, I know groomers like that, like, I want to get this certification, I want to get that certification, I want to get that certification, I want to get that certification. But especially right now, really look into what does that certification produce? Is it something that is actually going to make me more money? I say the same things about online courses and these virtual conferences and even the trade shows. Are you going to make some money back, or is this about pleasure, or are you just doing this because you feel like you're supposed to do it? I tell you all the time, like my stuff is not cheap, but I've, knock on wood. And if you have had a bad experience, if someone said to me, listen, I took your class and it really sucked, I'd be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. What could I have added more? What do you feel it lacks? Right? And especially being kind of this pioneer in this industry, like, no, people have been teaching grooming business forever, but teaching personal finance on a, that's the thing for me is like, how do I put it this way? We have to start looking at how we're growing in this industry, and we're going to continue to grow. Glamour Pause says the last one. Sorry, girl, not sure what you're referring to, but it's one of those things with education, and we have to make sure we're actually getting some money back, or we're going to enjoy it. Because just like going out for a nice meal, there's absolutely nothing wrong with just enjoying a good book, a good class, and you get to learn things. But take everything with a grain of salt, because even my stuff, guys, listen, what I teach you, you should always get your own opinion, because this is my opinion. This is me taking this knowledge and making decisions about what it is that I believe. And what I believe creates results. And that's why what I have to say, not that I don't say matters. A lot of times we just do, I'm sorry, Glamour Pause is saying, doing it because they think they're supposed to. I think a lot of people, we just do things because we're told that's what we're supposed to do. And I just think that's a real waste of life, of money, of time. You can do whatever the hell you want. You do you, girl. Trust me. And it's just silliness. But if you are passionate and you want to become a certified groomer, then you go do that. You want to be double certified, you get that done. But if you don't have any interest in doing grooming breed profiles, then don't. Build a business you love. So this is that topic. I know, I'm sorry, like all over the place tonight. I'm trying to always finish before 8 o'clock, and some days, it's just not going to happen. But today we talked about the ROI of education. I'm really hoping that this was enlightening and not super offensive, because I definitely feel like I'm going to unintentionally offend people, because I love you all, and I have lots of friends that have that work for organizations that have certifications. And I think that they all have their place. The question is, are you going to make more money with it? Are you going to enjoy it? What about it makes you happy and makes you grow? So if you want to talk about this or other topics, come on and hop in to my free Facebook group, Savvy Pet Professionals, where we talk about personal finance, business, and lifestyle. And to me, these kinds of things really are lifestyle choices. Do I want to do nothing but cats? Do I want to do only small dogs? Do I want to do big dogs? Right? And that in your education is going to help you. There's no point in learning how to do D-sheds if you only want to groom dogs under 20 pounds, because you're not going to get that many Pomeranians, right? And on the flip side, it really doesn't make any sense to take an upsells and add-ons class if you want to go luxury all in one. ATATU says you don't want to step on some toes from time to time that you're not taking big enough steps. That's a good quote. I feel like AT2 has some really good quotes there. I definitely don't want to step on people's toes in the sense that, for me, there's as somebody who doesn't want to do breed profiles, there's nothing interesting to me to become a master groomer. But you might not want to ever groom cats, so being a CFMG doesn't make any sense. All right, guys. So I've had so much fun working with you. If you are wondering how to best come and work with me, no problem. Here are 3 different ways to work with me. Now, I always say my real goal for you guys is to find work-life balance as well as find a job. And I shouldn't say that. Don't a business and not a job. And whatever that means to you, means to you. So there are 3 main ways to work with me. So we have Savvy Groomer's business membership, and we're actually going to be turning this into a group mentorship. So we're going to have our base membership, which is a 1 hour-long workshop at a time a month, and you have a library of all those other ones. That's only $35 a month. And we're actually going to be doing a soft launch in June of our group mentorship. And that's going to be $200 a month. And that is going to be group interaction, group talk, spotlight questions, etc. And then we're also going to have a higher tier, which is similar to our one-on-one coaching. So that higher tier will include one-on-one hour, and that'll be $500. Now, if you want more one-on-one time for business coaching, I offer that as well. I personally suggest, if you're going to make some massive shifts, to do some one-on-one coaching. One-on-one coaching, I only take so many clients at a time, and it is $1,200 for 4 hours a month. So if you want to do the business membership, which is our business membership, our group mentoring plus, that 1 hour, you have that hour, and then you can always buy additional hours as you see fit. Now, besides our price increase masterclass, which just launched last week, we also have our other online course, Personal Finance Unleashed. Personal Finance Unleashed is a 12-week course where we go through how to make more money. Well, in the sense that how to have a better relationship with your money. And I can't tell you how many times, you guys, you don't need to make more money. You just need to keep the money you have. So those are the 3 main ways to work with Savvy Groomer. Oh, you can't even see that. I had to have their hair. Oh, sorry, guys. Well, you know what I meant. You know what was going on. Just no problem. Just, what happens. Some days I'm like, man, River, what are you doing? What are you doing, girl? So I'm probably looking over there, picking my nose. Oh, jeepers creepers. Well, speaking of Personal Finance Unleashed, I actually have to go hop into my group, and we're going to do our live for Personal Finance Unleashed this week. I will see you guys here next Monday. Remember, please subscribe, like it, hop on YouTube. When we hit 1,000 subscribers, we're going to be doing 2 lives a week. How exciting is that? And we're almost there. We're at 850, so we need another 150 people. I'm really excited. So once we can monetize this, that means I have more hours I can give to the channel, and I will start coming on twice a week, which would be really fun. I would really love that. All right, guys, take it easy, and I will talk to you next week. As always, happy grooming.